Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. I also had no intention of speaking today. But the reality is I've heard too many disingenuous statements. I cannot sit in the back as an attorney, practicing attorney almost 20 years, and watch members weave different concepts together to misguide you and the public. So let's start with Representative Smithy talking about hearsay and hearsay within hearsay. Well, the rules of evidence provide many exceptions where hearsay is admissible. But hearsay is never excluded from an investigation. And that's what this is. This was an investigation. So if they heard hearsay or hearsay within hearsay, that rule doesn't apply to investigations. You've also heard that we're somewhat like a grand jury, and probable cause is what we're supposed to be looking for. That's one of the lowest thresholds. You heard Mr. Dutton say a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich. Well, that's, unfortunately, how our legal system works. The threshold to end up sending someone to trial is relatively low. And you also heard that the system or the methodology by which we got here was not open. Well, I don't know about you, but I knew it was happening. I actually went and sat in the hearing. So the members that got up here and complained that they didn't know, perhaps weren't listening. Perhaps we're meeting with some lobbyist somewhere. But I sat and watched the hearing. I sat and listened to it. And I began to count the felonies. I ran out of fingers and toes. What I'll tell you is, you keep hearing why now and why this time. Well, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. And today, I stand before you to tell you that the investigation was carried out much like any other investigation that I've ever seen as a defense attorney of almost 20 years. Rarely in my entire career, I've never had one single client invited to speak to the grand jury. Never. It doesn't happen. If it does, it's extremely rare. Never do you ever see the witnesses all brought before the grand jury. Generally, the DA lays it out, just like Mr. Murr did. That's how it works. In fact, everything that I've seen in this process is almost exactly like I've seen an investigation, like I've seen a grand jury, and like I've seen things conducted in the legal world that I have lived in for almost 20 years. You've heard that there were no witnesses. There were dozens upon dozens of witnesses that were spoken to. You heard they weren't under oath. Mr. Murr told you some of them are under oath. Some of them weren't under oath. But there are witnesses upon witnesses. You must leave this chamber today knowing one thing that you will have to do for the rest of your life. So look in the mirror and ask yourself, after hearing all these things, did you do the right thing? Did you do the right thing? Or did you stand here and put politics above justice and morality? You know, you heard Mr. Smithy talk about my father, that he had introduced impeachment resolutions. Well, by God, he was a Democrat, and they impeached a Democratic district judge. This is not about politics. This is about justice. And maybe justice delayed is justice denied. Well, the citizens of Texas have been denied justice for way too long. It is this body's obligation, and it is within our power. You also heard that this has all been a secret. Hell, if they'd have read the rules, you'd have noticed that we put it in the rules this session, that we have the power to investigate and bring articles of impeachment. That was on January 10th. Right there in the rule book. I can read them to you, but I can't make you understand them. The reality is this, members. We have a decision to make here today. Do we listen to our colleagues, a bipartisan committee that sat and listened to hours of testimony, that held that investigation since March, that come before you, members of the highest integrity, Representative Murr, Representative Johnson, Representative Longoria, Representative Spiller? I've never been lied to one of them once, by one of them, never. In fact, I hold them to the highest regard. I tell you that I have faith in them. I have faith in you. Fear not politics. Fear corruption. Vote yes.